in every way. So I think
it's time our focus moves back onto the red ball format, the longest format of the game, and my favorite format of the game. Rohan, welcome to the show. I have said my favorite format of the game is Test cricket. What about yours before we move on to the topic?
I think any cricket lover will say the Test cricket is his favorite, man. I mean, that's why it's called Test, a test of your ability, skills, temperament, discipline, and sometimes you get a second chance also to come back. That's why you get the second innings also, which you don't get a second chance in your T20s or ODI cricket. Like it's a fast-moving format, and one slip up can cost you the game. So Test cricket gives you that opportunity, and that's why it survived till so long, man.
Absolutely. But what's different between a test cricket and a limited overs cricket? You still have that competition. Is it that patience and game planning is a bit more in test cricket just because it's the gentleman's game, as we all say?
You can add on the ball. The red ball does a lot more than the white ball. There is nothing much in that Kookaburra white ball. It softens up easily after a certain period of time, but red ball still will have that little bit of movement or the spin or something in it for the bowlers basically. So the contest will be more even. Good, like if you're good enough, you can always pick up a wicket. It won't be like flat out pitches. Even the pitches in 5-day matches have something in it for the
Yeah.
bowlers. So wear and tear will be there. So all kinds of variety of the bowlers can be in your plan of attack. So I think that's why people who are what do you call aficionados of the game, will always like to see a test cricket because it challenges all kind of formats and dimensions of the game. I think that's why test cricket is always right up there.
It's always right up there. But today we are focusing on the World Test Championship cycle 2023 to 2025. We as Indians are quite familiar towards this because we have made it to the final square a couple of times. This time would want to bring the mace as well under the leadership of Rohit Sharma. But starting proceedings with the Proteas, the South Africans who were runners-up in the T20 World Cup 2024 against Team India. But they are a very, very good side when it comes to Test cricket as well, Rohan. If you look into the points table, first of all, they're currently in number 6. That doesn't matter out here because you focus on the points percentage, and 38 percentage is their points, which is number 6 out here. Any chances for them when they have 3 series coming up altogether?
I think definitely they do have, since they just won a series in the West Indies. What they have is all the three Asian teams up against. Relatively speaking, should be easy for them because two of those are at home against Sri Lanka and Pakistan, and of course there's a away series against Bangladesh, which can be testing and trial by spin. But if you just look at on paper, they can fancy themselves, but on ground we do know sometimes under pressure what happens to South Africa, just like in the World T20 World Cup final. So you never know with them, but on paper definitely a strong and a potent team to at least challenge the top three, I feel.
साउथ अफ्रीकन अगर ये सुन रहा होगा तो देयर क्वेश्चन वुड बी वो बात लाना जरूरी था 30 ऑफ 30 रिक्वायर्ड और वहां से all of a sudden we choked as we always have done. But I'll not keep it to that. But what can they differently do? Different leadership. Temba Bavuma as the captain, we will see in his statistics as well. But the template which they show is nothing as of that. You can see attacking cricket or
Yeah.
defensive minded cricket. What do you think South Africa, when we always say, okay, we have a game against South Africa, what is the fear you would like to call upon first of all?
Fear as an opposition, they're always disciplined. They're well planned. Only maybe that's the drawback. They don't think out of the box a lot. They are well planned unit and they focus on that plan A and keep going on. Sometimes
Is it the pace
adaptability,
unit?
be it the pace unit or in general the batting approach, everything as combined, it's pretty much stereotype kind of a one-dimensional team you see always. Be it the pace attack, the spinners, you know what's coming up. You can almost preempt what the opposition captain is thinking, everything. So if you kind of negate them with something aggressive brand of cricket like England do or even India do at times, they sometimes go on the back foot and they don't quite recover back. I think that's been their drawback. Once they get that stronghold, yeah, they are always on top and they know to press the pedal, but somebody hits them back, they sometimes don't quite give it back, as they say, bit too much well
Yeah,
natured, and maybe their mindset also. I mean, I don't want to use that c word, but that is what it is. Mainly it's the mental aspect which sometimes gives them that hindrance to be a top quality team that they do have that potential to but don't realize.
absolutely. They do not realize, but they have a very, very quality side. Always have the capability to get over the line. But ये अगर playing points table हम लोग देखे रोहन, at number 6, if you look into the extreme right, points per system with 38%, do they have six, as you said, six Asian, three Asian teams, 6 matches to go for them? If they win all 6, do you think still they can somehow surpass Australia? Maybe if India stumble into that top 2 for a final call up, or is it still India versus Australia loading at Lords?
Possible have, but as you said, they may have to rely on the other results also, like India or Australia slipping up somewhere. But as I said, on paper, with the kind of games that they have coming up, they definitely can do it. I mean, just imagine if we were at their this thing, we would definitely say, yeah, we can beat their three teams if we are at home. Yeah, in case Pakistan we do play, that's a different issue. But keeping that aside, South Africa, I think at home are always potent. They did beat India, right? I mean, a very
Yeah.
good chance that we did squander, but it's because the knowledge of the local conditions helped them, and a bit of toss factor and all those things also come into picture. But for them, on paper, I feel definitely they can beat a Sri Lanka and a Pakistan. For me, the toughest thing they can be will be away at Bangladesh. Without taking them lightly, the spin and maybe even the weather, you never know how it's going to be in Bangladesh at that point of the year. So all these things,
Most
but
importantly, conditions at
definitely
Bangladesh currently.
in every way. So I think all those things we need to factor in. But whatever in case, I mean, if you just look at a South African point of view, I think they'll be saying, I am well prepared for those conditions and we can execute it. But again, what happens on the day is a huge question mark with them.
Absolutely. But if you look into the points table once again, Rohan, उसके ऊपर देखेंगे तो न्यूजीलैंड, नीचे देखेंगे तो श्रीलंका. You have the competitions here and there. Sri Lanka and Pakistan are the two teams South Africa will face. So what is your take on this one? What about the others? Because though it's a, you will go as favorites for South Africa, but what about Sri Lanka? What about Pakistan? They will also look to counter back and then see if they have a chance, outside chance in the playing points table to move up the order.
पॉसिबल है, बट अगेन ये देखना पड़ेगा कि उनका भी सीरीज किसके अगेंस्ट है. आई थिंक पाकिस्तान हैज इंग्लैंड विच इज मच मोर चैलेंजिंग, ओके, एट होम, बट वी नो व्हाट हैपेंड लास्ट टाइम व्हेन इंग्लैंड ट्रैवल्ड देयर, दे white washed them
Yeah.
3-0, I think. And the kind of roads if they dish out, I strongly feel the chances of a result will be lesser for Pakistan unless they prepare some
But
green
is
tops and
Pakistan's main advantage that there is no Ben Stokes?
think Ben Stokes there or not, I think the others have the experience there, like a Root, Crawley, the new guy, Brook, I think had a very good tour last time. So I think it's the batting that may be more dominant. Of course, the bowling, I'm not sure with no Anderson and all those guys, how will they cope up with the flatness if it is there in the Pakistani conditions. But for me, if we are looking at South Africa, Pakistan will be again equally challenging. But since at home, Pakistan don't quite travel well overseas, and especially in Sena countries, their batting has always been fragile. So I think that's the reason South Africa may feel they can beat Pakistan. Sri Lanka, the same thing. I feel the batting can be very inconsistent. For me, the Bangladesh series is what will be the defining moment for them in case they have to move up the ladder.
Okay, so Bangladesh series you have constantly been talking about. Here is the schedule which we're going to talk about when it comes to South Africa, Rohan. India versus them, it was a home series. They made 1-1. We all remember that. Versus New Zealand, they won it 2-0.
It was
And
2-1,
then
yeah.
versus West Indies, which one? India?
Uh, it was a three-test series, right?
It was a two-test series.
Oh yeah, this time. Yeah, sorry. My 1-1. We
It
won
was a
at first,
two-test
second
series.
test at Cape Town. Yeah,
Second test we won it, and first test I should say
yeah.
we bottled it. We had a massive chance there, and
Mhm.
versus New Zealand 2-0, versus West Indies as well, away series 1-0 victory. Then we come to Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, as you were saying, and away to Bangladesh. You are saying it that is the most important one. What if they surpass them, and then you have Sri Lanka and Pakistan? Still, I'm asking you one question: can they make it 6 wins out of 6?
Hmm. I feel gut feel says no, but possibility is there. But also, Pritham, we need to see at that second series they played. It was a depleted team they sent to New Zealand because of that
Yeah.
SA T20 clash. I think that may come back to hurt them at the fag end of this WTC cycle. Sometimes those one odd games we tend to forget and try to catch up at the later half. Sometimes it may just be too much to do at times. So 6 on 6, is it possible? Yeah, but again, since conditions will be also a factor, like we saw in West Indies, one not test got rained out. Though South Africa was in a dominant position, you can say they couldn't capitalize because of the conditions there. So you never know what's going to happen with the kind of luck they have. You never know what's going to happen till the last moment with South Africa. So possible 6 on 6, yeah. As a Protea fan, you may think, yeah, that's possible, but on paper, what's going to happen? It's destiny for them, man.
Is it we? Not only we, I think the South Africans themselves don't know on paper what will happen for them any time, to be honest. But yes, New Zealand ke saath, the team they sent, they, and I think the heavy defeat as well versus New Zealand made it a difference as well in the points table. But 6 out of 6 is a possibility, says Rohan. But we all know what happens with South Africa in crunch moments. So anything is possible when it comes to them. But talking about the squad now, the very promising squad, as we all said. Dean Elgar, who is not part of the
Right.
squad anymore, but was in the WTC cycle as well. Aiden Markram, Tristan Stubbs, Marco Janssen. There is a lot of talent. Gerald Kodzi is there, David Bedingham, Temba Bavuma. So many players, but starting with the openers, the batters out here. Tony DeZorzi, a very, very promising player to be watched out for.
He was very impressive win against India. I think he did pretty well. But
Yeah.
against West Indies, the last test he looked in good fluency. Touch was there. But I think
He had a
the
banter. He had Rohan. He had a massive banter with Jaden Seals,
Jaden Seals.
and I think these bowlers always love banter when you always respond back to them. And there were deliveries like 17 continuous dot balls for Tony DeZorzi, and then he had
Yeah,
eventually poked one outside edge. So in the first test, he got a 70 odd run,
yeah,
couldn't make it to a big knock. And the second test, back to back times, he was under the scalp of
yeah,
Jaden Seals.
yeah.
So young player, but still needs to work a lot on his cover drives, pitched up deliveries, because he has a massive bat and pad gap, I must
Yeah.
tell you.
I think that's what West Indies, especially Seals, exploited, coming around the wicket, angling it in, and troubled
Yeah.
Dizorzi a lot. So that's, as you said, the technique is a bit of a question mark. But I think that guy has a lot of heart. I think he has played a lot on those tough South African pitches. He has scored a lot of runs in domestic cricket and come back. So I think the talent is there. It's again how temperamentally you're strong. Because once oppositions work you out, I think how you come back is what defines you at international cricket, basically. So I think it will be a good test for him, especially Bangladesh, when the trial by spin will be there. A lot of office will be hunting him and targeting those pads, for definitely for sure. So I think how he works out his technique there will be another question mark, because Dizorji, along with his partner in crime, if my add, Aiden Makram, lots of talent, potential, but kind of flatters to deceive when it matters the most. I feel he scored an excellent 100. I remember against India in the test which India did win. He was
I
batting
think in
on
the
a
recent amongst the promising players, though he's so
yeah.
experienced, I think he's one of the best square of the wicket players.
Excellent, especially as you said, square back foot play is fantastic. Only problem at times is maybe short selection at times, judgment, or maybe sometimes lack of concentration. As I feel, throws it away easily. But as I said, in that game in Cape Town on a very tough batting wicket, he showed some
Yeah.
excellent timing shots there, and his T20 skills maybe took over as well. And not to forget, he bowls a little of those off spinners. So I think he's always in the game, and the slips also a very good safe catcher. I think temperamentally he's pretty sound. It just at times I think he keeps wandering away in his concentration. I think if he focuses his skill sets in his complete batting technique, I think he can be a very good player which South Africa could invest for a long term, because we have seen as a captain and all those. I think he has led pretty well. It's just that sometimes to get that success to the next level, it's all about your focus, and it's basically within the player's temperament and in his
Yeah.
hand how he goes about it. I think it will be a real test for him as well.
But do you think he is still harsh done by when it comes to leadership skills? He is a potential leader.
I think there are other background things that happen in South African cricket which best not discussed. Pritham, we know there's quotas and all those things that they need to
Talk
manage.
us through the captain, please, now.
What to do? I mean, Bavuma, I think as much as he tries, sometimes you get that quicksand kind of a effect. The more he tries, he keeps going down the drain at times. Uh, but he is a lovely bloke, man. Is Bavuma? I mean, you can't hate him, to be honest. But just sometimes you feel there may be some better people who can do a job. But unfortunately, he's got the job. He can't say no to it, right? It's a pride, a matter of pride, basically, to lead your country. So I think he's done a decent job. He's an excellent fielder. It's just that maybe at times batting and getting those crucial runs, or maybe the lack of it, that's what is maybe pushing him down a little bit in the ladder, I feel.
Absolutely, no disrespect, but I still think he's batting a little bit lower down the order. He's a better player at number three, probably, because I think when it comes to again spin, he's a little bit weak. He doesn't use his feet quite often, and that's where he gets exposed. And when you're a leader, you need to work on yourself first, then pointing your fingers on the remaining 10. Because in the post-match presentation in the far after the end of the second test, he said, as a unit, we need to improve a lot. But I didn't see him speaking about himself much. So that is where I want to see that's the difference, because we always watched Aiden Markram, the leader, when it comes to Sunrise Hyderabad, when it came to
Yeah.
South Africa in the T20 World Cup as well, how brilliantly worked with the players, how brilliantly he had a bonding as with the players as well. In the Test series against West Indies, I think that was missing. The players did their duties, but I think that bonding was missing, and might be, as you said, the quota system in the South African teams might just be an exposure. Wyan Mulder, another promising all-rounder, I must tell you, who has kept Marco Jansen aside in the squad. He played both the games in the ODI series. In the second test, we brought a 4 as well. So how talented of a player you have, such a wonderful all-rounder. Earlier, I guess we used to have think about Feluk Wayo was there. There were other seamers as well, but now Wyan Mulder, very promising batting all-rounder, I must say, for South Africa, who can reverse swing with the old world as well.
Again, he kind of goes under the radar, especially with the big guns like Rabada, Ngidi, Maharaj. Definitely, I think people kind of take him a bit lightly, and he kind of surprises you pretty well there. I won't say he's very quick, but he's sharp enough and does a bit with the
Yeah,
ball. I think that's what helps him pick up very key wickets, and underrated, but it gives you those vital wickets at the right time. That kind of
correct.
eases the or breaks a vital partnership at times. I think batting is coming good again. Initially, when I first saw him, I felt kind of a weak link in this attack, which can be taken to the cleaners. If you survive the big guns' opening spell, you can kind of break him off. Of course, keeping someone like Jansen away said a lot, and
Exactly.
maybe showed confidence from the coaching staff as well to give him a go. And I think he showed that reward by picking 4 wickets in that innings when I felt South Africa were a bit behind, but for him to come up with a good spell
Well,
to
well.
get South Africa back in, I think that showed good temperament from the young man.
Absolutely. All eyes were on KG Rabada in that innings, in that test match rather, because they were got bundled out for 160, if I'm not mistaken. And then the way Wian Mulder fought back in the first innings of the second test match was phenomenal. As I said about KG Rabada, 299 test wickets, one away from that milestone of 300, joining the legends as well. One of the second or third most fastest to reach the milestone as well. I'm sure he will reach, pick the 1 wicket in the next test match for sure. But do you think, because the greats are there at the top of the order, but do you think he will make it to the 400 mark now?
Quite possible, man, because the kind of pitches you get in South Africa, this guy can easily pick 5 or 6 wickets in a game, easy, and that's counting like about 20 test matches. I think he can do it. So, and he's fit. That's more important. He's a fit guy. He can, and he plays all formats. strong guy. I think, and it's not easy to what do you call? Once he smells blood, he runs through the batting lineup easily. And for him,
Exactly.
the conditions really don't matter. He has the pace, he has the control, he has that nip extra bounce as well. So I think once he is on a roll, he kind of bulldozes through the any batting lineup. We have seen him in Australia when he was quite young. When I think Dale Steyn got injured, and everybody thought
Yeah.
Australia could run away.
That was
This guy
young
stepped up
KG Rabada.
massively. So I think that's where the
Absolutely, it was the
potential is.
young KG Rabada, but I'm talking about the list as well a little bit. Dale Steyn is there. We have seen Dale Steyn as well. You speak about lethal bowling. You have seen a lot about Anand Donald, Makaya Antini, Sean Pollock as well. What different does KG Rabada provide in this kind of a wickets? Any wicket, he will always be there in the scheme of things. Is it the extra bounce? Is it the pace? Or is it something different, seam movement? He's always there in the wickets column somewhere or the other.
I think a bit of all of these factors, Pritham. I think all that steps up because of his fitness. I think he can go on for a sustained long spell throughout the day. Any point of the test match, he can be a wicket taker. I think it's not like primarily he's a new ball bowler like a Phil Lander was, who could you could take him home once the ball kind of lost its shine. But someone like Rabada will always be in the game because of his fitness. The pace will be high. The skill sets is there. Every kind of variety, be it the slow ones, the bouncers, he can adapt to any conditions and pick you wickets. I think that's what sets him apart. Yeah, the names you said, Donald, Intini, all these were the similar qualities. Of course, Pollock had a different kind of a
Yeah,
mentality for a fast bowling. That channel outside of stump, keep working you, basically discipline kind of a line. But these guys could blast you out as well. So I think that's what sets him apart over the period of time. The pace hasn't dropped, the quality is still there, and he's damn fit.
absolutely. And when it comes to speak about young blood, Nandre Burger, he is moving up steps and steps. He's a fantastic left arm seamer, I must tell you. Is he something a player to watch out for when it comes to Australian conditions, England conditions as well?
He reminds me of the right hand version. I mean, he's a lefty, a right hand version of Andre Nell. Always up there in your face. Maybe not as skilled as other bowlers, but we'll give it to you that
Exactly.
110%. And always at the he can pick your wicket out of nowhere. Well said batsman on 100 not out. I think this guy can come in and pick him out easily. So, and you're not set against these kind of bowlers because you don't know what's coming up. There'll be a couple of outstanding deliveries, one maybe wayward one. There'll not be some consistency with him. I think because still quite young, inexperience is there, but the quality in the heart, I think that's what sets him apart. We've seen him in the IPL at Rajasthan, where he was absolutely sensational with someone like Trent Bolt. I think pairing up with Rabada, I think will only help him grow as a much better
Yeah.
bowler.
Absolutely, that is true. That because the experience of Rabada is key. But talking about the most runs for South Africa in the WTC cycle, we did not speak about David Bedingham. I think he's an underrated player. Bats at number five, keeps on scoring runs as well. Has a very good height, and I think that gives him the advantage of reaching towards the ball. Markram is there. Dean Elgar was there, but not part of the squad anymore for South Africa. Tony Dizorzi, Kyle Viren. Surprise, surprise. No Temba Bavuma in the list.
Temba Boom, I think maybe somewhere at the bottom, man.
At the bottom.
But I'm very liked with this guy, Kyle Verrein. Chips in with the very vital runs here and there. Uh, People don't quite rate him as much, but pretty handy behind the stumps as well.
A little bit of
Uh,
pocket dynamo, you can say.
very much, you said it rightly because I think he's got about 3 or 4 50s, but all those were match winning and impactful innings, I feel, across his career so far. The short one, but I think Kyle Verrein has done a real good job for South Africa since I mean, whatever we used to is like a Mark Boucher, Quinton de Kock. All these
Quinton
guys
de
were match
Kock,
winners
yeah.
on their own. I think suddenly this guy, maybe not as highly talented or anything, but whatever limited this thing he has, I think he has performed exceedingly well for them. And rightly, as you see, all those 140 odd runs were made at a very crucial time, I feel, for South Africa to benefit ahead.
Absolutely. And in the recently concluded series against West Indies, he got that one more handy half century in the third innings as well. And I think that's where the kudos comes out to. And I am absolutely right. He has successfully replaced Boucher, Quinton de Kock as well. That's the way I'm saying as well. Moving on to now comes the most wickets as well column now. KG Rabada always has to be amongst the top list contenders, Rohan. We spoke about the other paces as well. When we speak about the spinners section, for Australia it's always Nathan Lyon. For India it's always Ravichandran Ashwin. For South Africa it has to be after the likes of the legends we have always seen out here. The next step is always going to be Keshav Maharaj.
I mean, so smoothly goes about his business. Hardly nobody sees him, but he's the kind of guy who can keep on bowling all day from one end, and the pacers can rotate from the other and keep being fresh. Basically, I think the other day in the first test in Trinidad, I think the amount of overs
28 overs on the trot.
on the drought, yeah, exactly. I
28
think
overs
that
on the
shows
trot. Yeah.
great fitness, man. And he isn't a kind of guy who will have all these variations, like as you said, like Ashwin or any of those guys. No fancy carom balls, simple orthodox left arm spin, keep at it. Bit like a Jaddu maybe, but not as big a spinner, but definitely a lot more control and good guile, pace variations at the stumps. I think even a little
Fantastic.
bit of help in the pitch, I think, is very threatening. And playing a lot of those games in South Africa, which are not quite spin friendly, still he comes out and picks you so many wickets. That shows that the kind of ability he has. And not to forget, he's a decent contributor with the bat as well, lower down the order. I think that's what distinguishes him a lot. They don't sometimes, even though they go with just one spin and Keshav and the Seamers pick up all the wickets, he comes in with those vital runs lower down the order and adds value to the
Yeah,
team. I think that's what differentiates
exactly.
him from other kind of spinners that they played in between.
Absolutely. And he has built a very good partnership with the other spinner as well, the off spinner Dane Pete. He is also providing handy runs the previous game as well in the third innings rather. He scored some handy runs, 40 odd, and that turned out to be a very crucial knock for South Africa. Otherwise, the target would have been way lower. So South Africa's bowling and batting looks balanced. That's what we spoke about at the beginning of the show. Good side, but at the end of the day, they themselves don't know what happens when it comes to crunch moments as well. But what about the players are done? What about the leader himself? Let's talk about him as well. And I will hand it over to you once again, Rohan. 5 matches, 305 runs, best scorer 172 with an average of 43. Figures says everything. Good enough, but still not in the recognition.
Maybe as a leader, they're expecting a lot more from that kind of a role that he has, Pritham. But as you said, maybe not good enough, or other options may be better, and all those things come into picture. But that guy, as I said, you can't really dislike him. He has done everything that is possible within his control. As you said, maybe not able to get the team to gel around well and achieve their true potential, but at times he's a gun field. He puts every bit of energy that he has, or whatever little frame that he is. He shows a big heart for the little man, that whatever he can. But problem is it good enough? Huge question mark. And South Africa nation is such a proud country in terms of its cricketing history. They feel somebody of a bigger stature, bigger aura, maybe like a
Quite bigger.
quite big. I mean, someone like Hansi used to do a fantastic job as a leader before the sad demise and all the fixing controversy that happened. Be it even Graham Smith, the kind of people these
Grams.
were.
Oh my God.
I mean,
What a leader he was.
from outside, South Africa was a tough team, kind of the leadership they had. Even that matter, Sean Pollock a little bit, whatever he did. But Temba Bavuma doesn't give you that kind of a confidence. Even as a maybe a South African yourself, if you think, you don't exude that brilliance on field maybe at times. So I think a lot of these factors, but this guy, I think he has done whatever he can. But as I said, is it good enough or not? It's something to be decided by the people.
Absolutely. And I've seen a lot of test captains when it comes to batters who are there, be it openers, be it in the top five. They always find themselves in the slips. But I've never seen Bavuma in any slips. He always in the mid-off region. And that's where I think his miscommunication always happens with reviews. I think he had worse reviews converted than Craig Bathwaite in the ongoing concluded
Hmm.
series. So I think the leader, the Bavuma, is still not up to the mark. That's where the concern might be just for South Africa, because the decision making we saw in the World Cup semi-final as well. We have seen it. I've seen it myself at the stadium itself. There were many occasions where Rabada, Kodzi, Deacock, they themselves wanted this kind of a field, but Mavuma didn't, and the ball eventually went to where the other set. So there were many times then when he's differed from the other, and that's where I think that the quota systems comes into, no matter what, you will still remain the captain. How long is my question, because I think there are so many promising players. You have Tristan Stubbs coming out to be the next future for South Africa as well. So many promising players. We will see what happens when it comes to South Africa and the captaincy. So far, so good. Can he make it 6 wins on the trot? That's going to be the important question. But when it comes to the players to watch out for, Rohan, I've got with my five, and unfortunately, I do not have the South African captain out here. It's Aiden Markram, Wian Mulder, Kagiso Rabada, Keshav Maharaj, and Nandre Burger. Neutral conditions, players to watch out for. Give it a shot. Any changes for you?
I'll add Kyle Verreyn also, Pritham, because uh, the kind of impact that he has done when South Africa really required, because the game would be in the balance and it could go either way. I think Verreyn's innings has been that defining factor which has pushed South Africa a little bit ahead. So I think add on Verreyn as a keeper as well. I think he's done a decent job. I think, yeah, as you said, one more guy, Bedingham, the kind of personality he
Oh,
is,
yes.
even on the tour of New Zealand where South Africa were sent a pretty much a underrated
He
team.
was the only promising player, I must tell you.
And some of the shots he played against guys like Bolt and South Wagner, I think fantastic kind of a pulls that he was playing around. I think that shows he has a talent. It's just that maybe the conditions he needs to analyze a bit more better, and I think he'll only improve from there on. But overall, I think it's a gun team. It's just on the day and what happens within a year.
What happens over here? Absolutely. But we're talking about the predicted playing 11. This is what I've gone. Neutral stadium. I've gone with more or less the same team that played in the ongoing series as well. I've added an extra pacer just because Marco Jansen is out here alongside a Wian Mulder. I don't have real Ryan Rickelton out here. What about you as well? Do you still go back with? Unfortunately, I do not have David Bedingham out here. If it's conditions where you need an extra seam, I've gone with Marco Jansen. Otherwise, would you once again want to go back to David Bedingham and no Marco Jansen or Wian Mulder?
Yeah, that's what even I was thinking. Maybe a Bedingham in there for one of these two all rounders. It can kind of strengthen their batting as well. And maybe, as you said, in case the conditions demand, the second spinner in Dane Pitts also will be a good choice in case required for one of the seamers, because Lungi Ngidi, I think, though has a good record at home, at times oversees his fitness and
Yeah.
what do you call it, the incisiveness is slightly missing at times. So I think Ngidi also can be a person who can be replaced depending on the conditions, I feel. But overall,
Okay. So
enough options, and they can challenge any team at any point of time.
any team at any given point of time is what you think. So once again, final question before we conclude this: do you think South Africa will make it to the finals?
I actually don't care who comes, man, as long as we do over there and win it. That's it. Australia comes or South Africa comes.
This
Who
one,
cares, man?
straight
We
enough,
have been there
straight
four
enough
times.
answer.
Enough of this.
Straight enough answer. No, nothing about anybody else. But India has to make it to the finals, no matter who the opponent is. You have said there's a possibility South Africa wins the remaining 6 games on the trot. They have to see if they can keep their nerves. Thank you so much, Rohan. Thank you to all the viewers for watching this video. South Africa World Test Championship analysis is done and dusted. We still have the other teams coming up very soon. Till then, don't forget to subscribe to the Fifth Umpire. Press the bell icon as well. Till then, thank you so much and bye bye.